Welcome to the Leading Generations podcast from Antioch Bible Baptist Church in Gladstone, Missouri. Each week, Pastor Steve Doss shares an encouraging word on faith, family, or culture as we seek to live out our mission of leading generations to make disciples of Jesus Christ everywhere.
Welcome back to the Leading Generations podcast. Hope your week is going well. Excited to be with you again this Wednesday. Again, so grateful for how you join us each week. It's always good to spend some time together throughout the week as a church family. And I'm excited today to have one of our newest employees with us on the podcast. His name is Andrew Ray. He is our Young Adult Director, amongst other things that he does. But Andrew, it's so good to have you on the podcast today. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, good to have you here. I like to start with every guest that I have on the podcast, do some quick hit questions, just to get us going here a little bit before we get into more of your story and coming to Christ and things like that. So if you and Maddie are going to go on vacation together, and you have a choice between the mountains or the beach, where are you guys going to end up?
If it's me, it's going to be mountains most of the time. If we're going with the kids, or if Maddie's choosing, we're probably doing the beach.
Nice.
But yeah, the girls love the water, love the sand, love all the things beach. So they're going to go there. But if it's me, I would pick mountains.
Have you been to any particular mountainous region that you're like that? I'd love to go back there, or
yeah. So Maddie and I did a trip a few years ago to the Pacific Northwest, like Oregon really coast area, which kind of gives you both like beach and mountains. Yeah. A little bit, but yeah, that was great. Grew up going to like the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee, Colorado, obviously. So yeah, we did our honeymoon in Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg area of Tennessee. So yeah,
nice. Well, we need to talk after this is over, because Ruth was just talking to me this weekend about the Pacific Northwest and going up and seeing that area. So we'll have to talk about what you guys did.
Definitely.
All right. So mountains for you, beach for Maddie.
Everybody else.
That's right. Yeah. All right. Coffee or tea?
I do love both. If I had to pick one, it would definitely be coffee.
Yeah. So any particular kind of coffee that you like? Are you a morning coffee guy, or is it coffee throughout the day?
If I'm not careful, I can be a coffee all day kind of guy. I can even have it, later in the evening. It doesn't really bother me a ton. I think I've built up a caffeine, immunity over the years. So it doesn't affect me as much as it used to. But yeah, an all day kind of guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as what kind, I mean, I can get as nerdy or as not nerdy about coffee as you want to. But I like all of it.
Yeah, get a little bit nerdy with us, because
well,
you are a little bit of a coffee connoisseur.
I am.
So,
yeah. Well, I've worked in coffee, various times and enjoy it. So I usually drink black coffee, but my favorite coffee is typically a light roast African coffee. So if there's one in particular, some shops, not many in Kansas City have it, but some shops will do a Tanzania pea berry coffee, which is a smaller coffee bean. And it's actually like a genetic thing with the Tanzania pea berry, where it doesn't have a crack down the middle of the coffee bean, so it's a single bean. But those, if they're roasted right, are great. So they're very it's still black coffee, but they're going to be super fruity, like berries, that type of flavor profile. So that's what I like in a coffee. But I'll also drink, gas station coffee is fine. Yeah. So there's a cup of coffee for everybody.
Yeah, that's funny. You did nerd out there for the.
I did. Yeah, you asked for it. So
that was good. Yeah. I didn't know that there was a bean that didn't have the little split down the middle. So that's good. Yeah. Well, someday we'll have to try that together. Yeah. I'd love to taste that, because I like to drink my coffee black too. Yeah. So that'd be good. All right. Last question before we get to the real stuff here. Are you a KU, Kansas Jayhawk, or a Missouri Tiger fan?
So Missouri by association. Yeah.
Association with what?
My father-in-law would have issue if I said I was a KU guy. So Mizzou by association, but then also we'll get to it. But I grew up in Alabama, and so grew up in the SEC. So with the exception of a few SEC teams, I'll typically root for the SEC over other teams.
Yeah. So who's your team in the SEC then?
Yeah, so I'm an Auburn fan, Auburn Tigers. So as long as it's not Alabama or Georgia, I'll root for anybody else in the SEC to win.
That's
funny. But yeah, Auburn fan for sure.
Yeah, nice. Well, let's go into then your family, like you mentioned, growing up in Alabama. So tell us a little bit about your growing up days, a little bit about your family.
Yeah, so grew up small town in Alabama, northeast Alabama. Mom and dad have an older brother who's 10 years older than me and a sister who is 14 years older than me. So very much the baby of the family. Really, I mean, by the time I was, 8 or 9 years old, my brother was out of the house, my sister was out of the house. So I grew up, and kind of my more formative years was really kind of growing up as an only child at home.
Because that's a pretty big 10 years. That's a big gap.
Big gap.
Were you a surprise or was it?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, it was great. I mean, my parents were great growing up. My dad was a hard worker, worked in the auto industry, car plants, growing up, some swing shifts that were tough, but hard worker. My mom worked for the local school system. She was a librarian for most of the time. Nice. So, it was great. Grew up in church, really just by God's grace, I think. In the town in Alabama, it's really, at that time at least, there was a lot of cultural pressure to attend church. It was just kind of what you did. It was the norm. Just by that nature, we were at church all the time growing up, and it was a blessing.
Yeah. It is a blessing to grow up in church. I mean, it comes with its downsides too, but for the bigger picture, it is a blessing to have that story. Mm-hmm. So tell us about, that's your family growing up. Tell us about your current family.
Yeah.
Your wife, kids.
Yep. So Maddie, my wife, we've been married since 2015. So we just had our 10-year anniversary this past November. We started dating in college. So we started dating in November of 2014, got engaged in June of 2015, and then married the following November in 2015. So we were really good friends, kind of same friend group before that.
Yeah, I was going to ask how you guys met in college.
Yeah, so long story short of it is my best friend in college was dating her best friend in college. And so each of our best friends would invite us to go study so that they didn't have to, be alone with their boyfriend or girlfriend, and could go kind of as a group. And so they eventually broke up, but Maddie and I just got to know each other, enjoyed hanging out together, became really great friends during that time. And then that just led into, just being great friends and starting to feel like there could be more there. And then that started that process. And so then after we got married, we lived in Louisville, Kentucky. It's where we went to college, and then eventually moved back to Kansas City. And then, we have 2 daughters. Selah is 5, and Millie just turned 1.
Nice.
So,
Yeah, you got cute kids, man.
Yeah.
Thanks. They're keepers for sure.
Definitely. Yeah.
And you guys are doing a great job with them. I think probably a question our church would have was, what was it like to, have to meet with Todd and ask for Maddie's hand in marriage? Did that go okay? I mean, obviously you survived, but was there a few scars that came from that?
It was great. God was good, and Todd was really gracious. But it was intimidating. Probably, I had already been through it a little bit when I actually had a FaceTime conversation with Todd while I was at college before I even asked Maddie to start dating, and we got super serious. But then, one of the times when I came to Kansas City to visit Maddie, Todd and I went to breakfast and kind of had the conversation. And it was as intimidating as you would expect it to be, sitting down with Todd. But at the same time, he was gracious, he was kind and stern and protective of his daughter, which is I wouldn't want it any other way, but it was good.
Yeah, I think a neat part of you and Maddie's story too is you just recently adopted Millie too. So tell us a little bit about that journey, journey into adoption and going through that process. And
So we had Selah, and she was born in 2020, and then kind of throughout our marriage, we've struggled with various infertility issues of different kinds, and so even before we got pregnant with Selah, we were already kind of considering adoption, looking at adoption, felt called to adoption. And then we were blessed and the Lord gave us Selah. And so then we kind of walked through that journey of becoming parents. And then once we started, looking at having kids again, we ran into some of the same issues. And then the Lord was really kind and really bringing adoption to Maddie and I separately, just kind of working in our lives and in our hearts so that when one of us brought it up, finally, the other was like, oh, I've also been thinking about this and the Lord's been putting it. So it wasn't, neither one of us had to convince the other person to do it. We were all on the same page with it.
Yeah.
And then, it was a journey. So it was about 1.5 or 2 years of just paperwork, interviews, meetings, trainings, various things. And so it finally ended up working out in November of 2024. So the agency that we went through, they're kind of designed as working with birth moms who want to give up their child. And so usually it's infant adoption is the norm. They do others as well, but that's what we were looking for, was infant adoption. And we had looked at a few profiles, is what they call them, and they really tried to give the birth mom as much power and control as possible. So you kind of say yes, that you would adopt a child, and then the birth mom looks at the 3 or 4 people who have said yes to adopting her child and then picks one. So they really try to honor her in that way. So we had been through that a few times and not gotten picked, which was tough. And then, the week of Thanksgiving in 2024, we were just talking about Thanksgiving plans, getting ready. And then it was a Tuesday morning at 9:00 before Thanksgiving, we got a phone call from our agency that they had what they call a drop-in profile, which is they just kind of heard about this child. So she was born on a Monday. Millie was. We heard about it on Tuesday morning at 9:00, and then we had to say yes or no by noon on Tuesday. So we said yes, which meant that we were scrambling the rest of the day on Tuesday. Tuesday night, we had to fly. She was in Georgia, Columbus, Georgia, and so we flew to Birmingham, Alabama on Tuesday night and had to pick her up and took her home from the hospital on Wednesday morning. Wow. So went from, 24 hours, we were taking her home from the hospital, which is not the norm. Normally you get matched with a birth mom and you have a month or two to walk with her. But this was short notice. And it was great. We really wouldn't change any of it. We had a friend in the area, thankfully, just across the border in Alabama, but really close by, that connected us with a lady named Jill. And we didn't know her. She was a friend of a friend, but she was letting us stay there. So we literally show up to this lady's house with a baby at noon on a Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And she welcomes us in, and we had Thanksgiving with her and her family that year. And and then eventually, obviously, came home, had to go through the legal process of everything, but came home just before Christmas in 2024.
Wow. Yeah. What a story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget about that, how quick that all came about. Yeah. But then to see God's faithfulness in all of that, and wouldn't change it.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Thanks for sharing that with us. So tell us a little bit about how you felt called into ministry, sort of how you ended up on staff at Antioch. So again, looking back to where you went to college and God's direction in your life that led you to move to Kansas City and come to Kansas City to be on staff at Antioch. But you came to Kansas City with Maddie and eventually have ended up on staff. So give us your journey into full-time ministry.
Yeah, so I was originally saved when I was around 8 years old at a vacation Bible school in just a small country church we went to in Alabama. And so I still remember, it was the ABCs of salvation. So admit that you're a sinner, believe that Christ died for your sins and rose from the grave, and confess that Jesus is Lord. And so kind of that was about 8 years old was when I first put my faith in Christ. And then through growing up, my grandparents, especially my grandfather, kind of became my spiritual mentor, someone who I looked up to. And so would eventually start going to church. They went to a different church in town, so I would start going to church with my grandparents growing up. And then talk about a call to ministry. So as part of the church that they were a part of, there ended up being a church split. I didn't know it at the time, but it ended up being over some, looking back, some pretty serious theological issues and doctrine. But there was a church split. I went with the smaller of the split that didn't stay at that church, really just because some of my closer friends and their families were going with that. But through that, there was about 50 or 60 of us that essentially started a new church in my hometown. And there were two pastors who kind of led that charge. And so they had an opportunity of just pouring into my life, investing in me, really getting to see the function and the structure and the logistics of a church come together through that and through them. And seeing them kind of lay the foundation of discipleship and loving the people of the church as they're building the church itself. And so that was formative and impactful, just thinking about my future and wanting to be involved in a church and wanting to kind of carry on their example that I saw. So that was about middle school. And then later in high school, 17, 18, I wasn't the best student of school and grades and things. So
I'm surprised by that.
I was a sports guy, so wasn't the best in academics. But so my kind of options for school were a little bit limited. I wasn't getting scholarships, to go places. So I was talking with one of the pastors from that church at the time. And we had, in that student ministry, we had gone to a lot of student conferences and student events and activities at Southern Seminary, which is in Louisville, Kentucky. And so when I was talking with him about, next steps, what do I want to do? When it really came down to what I enjoyed, it was everything was stuff with the church. So I enjoyed being at church. I enjoyed helping them with things. I did like an internship with them over the summer. We went on mission trips. So everything on my list of what I enjoyed doing was all related to the church.
Sure. Yeah.
And so he was like, well, hey, have you ever considered going to Boyce College, which is the undergrad of Southern Seminary? And I was familiar with it from the conferences that we went to, but had never really considered it as a spot. And so then we did the whole preview day, check it out thing with my family, went great, and then ended up going there really as a feeling the call to ministry, and then feeling affirmed in that call from the pastors of my church to go and pursue that.
So what was the degree you eventually got at Boyce College?
Yeah, so I graduated with a bachelor's in biblical and theological studies from Boyce. So I graduated in 2015, right after Maddie and I were married. We both graduated, lived in Louisville for about a year after we were married, and then came back to Kansas City. So I also didn't come to work at Antioch until I was, in my 30s. And so there's about 10 years there of, I graduated college and was not in ministry. So that was a journey of itself. I worked construction, worked in finance, worked in coffee. So did a lot of things through that time. But what brought me to Antioch, specifically, we were members of Antioch that whole time. We led a small group here. We were serving in student ministry. So did a lot of different stuff.
Yeah, you did.
But as far as actually coming on staff, we had the childcare that we were using for Selah in particular ended up falling through, and so we were trying to figure out how to continue to work, continue to provide, but then also care and raise. It was just Selah at the time, so our daughter. And what it really came down to is Maddie's job was better than my job at the end of the day. Sure. She enjoyed it more. It was just a better all around situation for her. So I ended up leaving my full time job to stay home with, again, just Selah at that time. So I was a stay at home dad, worked part time jobs on the weekends for a couple of years. And so that was kind of what started the conversation. I remember sending you an email and saying, hey, I'm doing this. I'm going to have more time available if there's anything the church needs.
And that's when you stepped into leading men's ministry, right?
Yeah, so that led into me leading men's ministry on a volunteer basis. Yeah. At the end of 2023 is when I started that. And then, I did that all the way up until June of this past year when I started full time.
Yep. Yeah, it's been a fun journey with you. And I love what I've loved about watching your life over these last, 10 years, how many ever years it's been since you've come here, is just your faithfulness to the Lord and to his church, even though it wasn't necessarily probably how you had thought life was going to go, right? Like coming out of Bible college, all that kind of stuff, headed towards ministry, and then spending 10 years in the workforce world, the public arena of life. And again, but in that time, you didn't get bitter at the Lord. I know there was obviously hard times, I'm sure, of working through that, but you didn't get bitter at the Lord. You stayed faithful to his church and were serving in so many different ways. And then again, as you went to the stay-at-home dad route for a while and had more time, like volunteering and leading our men's ministry here at Antioch. So it's just been neat to watch God's work in your life to lead you to then, what was your heart way back when you, in high school, as you're going into college, where you saw God directing your steps to see God be faithful to you, but also I think you being faithful to the Lord in all those years, and now getting to be on staff here at Antioch is a great thing. So I'm glad God led you there. I'm glad you met Maddie, and God led you to Kansas City. I love that you're on our team here at Antioch. Yeah. So thanks for being faithful to the Lord and faithful to his church. Well, this is part one of our interview with Andrew. Next week, we'll jump back in with Andrew, talk about what he does here at Antioch, get to hear his heart for young adults and the men of our church and what he sees God doing in their lives. So make sure you join us next week for the podcast. We'll see you then.